The future of the Intergovernmental Authority on Development hangs in the balance on day 2 of the Addis Ababa meeting. The 13th IGAD Heads of State and Governments Assembly has begun in Addis Ababa. The meeting is also being attended by representatives from the African Union, the UN, the EU and other partner organizations. The agenda includes discussions on the situation in South Sudan, Somalia as well as the Gulf of Aden. This ordinary meeting will also decide the next country to chair IGAD, taking over from the incumbent chair, Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. Well, let's get you more now from Girum Chala. He joins us live from Addis Ababa. Girum, to begin with, what is the latest from the IGAD meeting?
Lindy, the 13th Ordinary Summit of the IGAD Heads of State is underway now. Remember, this is the first time since 2008 that these heads of state came together for ordinary meeting. Other meetings so far we've seen for the last almost 11 years were emergency meetings to talk mostly about peace and security issues. But today they've made to do ordinary stuff. For example, of talking about re-establishment of IGAD and formal structure formation of this intergovernmental authority for development itself. In the morning we've seen a measure happening. The executive secretary replacement has been made. The outgoing executive secretary, Engineer Mahbub Maalim, who has served the IGAD secretary for the last 11.5 years, has left his position for the former Ethiopian Foreign Minister Workina Gabayo himself. So IGAD has now got its new executive secretary. His name is Dr. Workina Gabayo. This has been seen in the morning. And by the way, this meeting has been attended except the President of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta. Other regional leaders are here. Djibouti President, Somalia, Kenya, Ethiopia and Uganda at the same time.
So, Girum, perhaps a changing of the guard for IGAD, one might say. What else is on the agenda? What are some of the key issues that you think the leaders will be particularly focusing on?
Well, the leaders, Lindy, are focusing on, obviously, on the peace and security situation in the region, more particularly on the situation in South Sudan. You remember that the revitalized peace agreement has been signed last year in September, between the South Sudanese opposing parties. And according to that agreement, the former Vice President and rebel leader Riek Machar was supposed to go back to South Sudan and form that transitional government until elections are coming to the country. Unfortunately, the leaders are disappointed by the unfoldings in the country, as this revitalized peace agreement is not holding any water. So discussions are being held on that area. That is the outstanding agenda at the moment, and they should also decide the fate of Riek Machar himself, what should happen about him, and what kind of responsibilities should each and every government take in order to make South Sudan a country that is coming out of the woods and deliver back to its people, especially in the aspect of peace. The other issue is the situation in Somalia, again another peace and security issue, and the Gulf of Aden at the same time. So these are outstanding issues being discussed. Now they are in a closed session after the opening ceremony. Lindy.
Well, of course, Girum, South Sudan's IGAD's handling of the South Sudan situation has certainly drawn some attention towards the chair. The US even saying just a few days ago that the IGAD chair did not do enough to push South Sudan's leaders to complete that peace agreement on time. Has there been any response to this so far?
Well, as you've said, the U.S. and other parties complain about the lacking of perhaps motivation from the IGAD side of pushing the leaders of IGAD, the stakeholders, not only the government in Juba and other stakeholders, in order for them to implement and push forward what is intended to happen in the country when it comes to perhaps forming this transitional government of unity, that all-inclusive government in South Sudan, all the way up to the election, the general election in the country that is expected to come out as per the revitalized peace agreement. But the story from the IGAD side is different. You know that JMEC, this implementing body, also the one that oversees every aspect of this revitalized agreement when it comes to its implementation, has been working day and night and reporting almost in everyday basis that the problem is not from the push part, the problem is from the implementers themselves, the stakeholders of South Sudan who were supposed to come at the front. That's at least what we are hearing in the meeting halls today, that they are saying IGAD, the African Union, the United Nations and other stakeholders, including the European Union, are behind this, including China, are behind this in order to make the what has been written on the paper, what has been signed on the paper in form of the agreement, a reality on the ground. But there is lack of commitment. That's what we are hearing from the diplomats here from South Sudan, is all parties. So the complaints are here and there, but at least what we're expecting, Lindy, from the 30th Ordinary Summit of IGAD, and as it is the agenda, one of the important agenda items is that the decisions out of this meeting is going to recommit the people of South Sudan, also those people who have committed themselves to sign, to implement what has been agreed, at least to form this transitional government all the way to the elections, Lindy.
Thank you so much. Girum Chala joining us there live from Addis Ababa.
The IGAD Heads of State Ordinary Summit, which has concluded in the Ethiopian capital Addis Ababa, part of the decisions made are aimed at recommitting South Sudanese stakeholders to implement the revitalized peace agreement. The summit has also welcomed Sudan as IGAD's newest chair, replacing Ethiopia. CGTN's Girum Chala has been following this story for us. He joins us live now from Addis Ababa. So, Girum, the Prime Minister, Abdallah Hamdok, he is now the one leading the Sudan in chairing that IGAD. How did Sudan get that chairmanship?
Well, Penina, Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok came to power just a few months ago after the former Sudanese president left power because of public uprising, because of so many issues in the country. And now IGAD has given Sudan a chance to lead this Eastern Africa bloc because of two important reasons. One is, according to its principles, this is going to be a role that is chairmanship of IGAD is a role that is going to rotate amongst member states themselves. For the last 11 years, Ethiopia was holding it. Ethiopia's former Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed Zenawi, and also the predecessor of Abiy Ahmed, Haile Mariam Desalegn, now also Abiy Ahmed. Three of them were playing the role of chairmanship in this 11 years. Now is a time to take over by another country, and it has been Sudan, Djibouti and Kenya in Iran, and it is Sudan which came out first and took the position at the moment. Hamdok, as you know, has been the second in line in leading the UN's Economic Commission for Africa, based here in Addis Ababa, and has been one of the most outspoken economists in this position. So he has been leading also his country since the transition time, has been one of the most important people in the country in the transition, and now leading the country also as a prime minister. So it has been really a remarkable achievement for Sudan itself, but many people are hoping that Abdallah Hamdok, the prime minister of Sudan in the position of chairmanship of IGAD, will deliver the job. That's why he's got the job anyway. That's what people are telling us.
All right.